Cartoons.
You're watching Exaba's Chernobyl.
Hope that answers your question.
Keroppi here, and welcome back to Homes and Habitats. Because today, we're going to take a look at the 3 best 10-acre deer habitat setups. I know what that is, a habitat. So anyways, enjoy the video, everyone. Action!
Now we have several videos that focus on 40-acre private parcels or less. And, you know, some people, 40 acres is a large parcel. Even myself, the 2 parcels that I hunt, really hunting. And I could add the third one in there, too. The third one
Ooh,
is 40
that's
acres,
really
that's 8 acres of
hunting
cover.
in here.
The one that's 52 acres.
But I'm a little suspecting on that.
And then 10 acres of open fields. We have 30 acres of cover.
Consider more
and
that?
then on the other one is 25 acres of cover. And that includes about 1.25 acres of food plots. So I'm hunting properties that, and I'm not talking 300-acre parcels with 20 acres.
Well, nobody knows about that for sure. But still it's a little bit tricky.
Going back to the
Don't get it in my way.
Those are small.
Still covered.
People, but let's face it, others, they're really large parcels. And I think the concepts are the same, whether you're looking at a 40-acre parcel.
What are you looking at?
Focus on some 10-acre, 5-acre type micro parcels and what you have. And I wrote about this in my food plot book. I've touched on this in my Whitetail Success by Design book. That's the red book and the green book.
Oh, there's a book about the outdoor thing? Still living in the outdoors.
How many of you have that?
What am I going to tell you about saying things right?
People say, you know, only have 5 acres, there's not much I can do. Well, I wanted to make sure that you're prioritizing what you are doing with those micro parcels. And again, 5 to 10 acres, 15 acres, somewhere around in there. What you should be doing depending on the type of habitat that you have.
What did I just say about that?
And I'll mention, I'm going to leave these right here.
I didn't know about that too.
Because
Still got it.
These $5, one on 25 acre, the 25, and then we shot 4 of these on the 30 acre parcel, 30 acre cover parcel. So there's a lot that you can be done on small parcels. And I will say, most of my neighbors are not
still parcel on that.
And you might think that's unfair, but I feel like we do it right, we hunt it right, and these are the rewards. And these are the rewards I want for you, even if you only have 5 to 10 acre parcels. First parcel I want to look at is a wooded parcel. Let's say you only have 5 to 10 acres.
I have reason I'm talking about.
Northern Wisconsin.
But that's a lot of habitats in that location. But it's a deer habitat on the outdoor.
Really unique because
the antlers.
There's already lots of cover around. If you're in a wilderness area, if you're in a big woods area. So if you go into your property and just make a lot of cover, even if it's good hardwood regeneration, even if it's good shrub tip, briar regeneration, or you have a lot of browse on your property.
Well, that's a lot of that.
You're really going to get lost in
well, keep on going, no.
That surrounds
you know?
you in cover, even if it's open cover. Deer really have a lot of space. In those areas, what drives attraction is not browse. It's not
every
cover.
day is a little home.
Hinge cuts. It's not.
But nobody knows for sure about the new home.
I've seen this time and time again.
But I guess you'll
lived in the
coming out,
for 14 years. I had property up there for a long time.
Still got it updated on that.
Public land, I hunted on my own private land.
Well, that seems a little bit old.
I was a real estate appraiser
up
there, so I got to see a lot of rural properties, as you can imagine. A 10-acre property that's surrounded by national forest on a mile dead-end road. I have a friend that has a property like that. I've seen a few of those. In those locations, food is at a premium. Food is critically important. If you have a situation like that, especially when you have protected borders, either on 2 sides, 3 sides, or all sides, you do not have fence sitters right on your line. And I've seen a lot of these like this. maybe non-hunting neighbors, maybe properties that are public land that people just can't get into, but you need to have food.
This
You need to have
can't be
lasting food. And
happening
the problem is
than
in these
I ever
areas is that
thought.
if you put a half acre of food,
We'll
even if you
stick
only
it
have
out
10 deer
on
per
that.
square mile, the deer will eat you out of house and home just because
Let's stick it
there's
to the
nothing else green
chase,
for
I
them to
know.
eat, nothing else quality to eat. So you have to figure out a food plot that will last. What I found in those areas is layers of rye, where let's say your first frost date is middle of September, then you're planting your first layer of rye middle of August. 3 weeks later, you're planting another 100 acres, and again, 3 weeks after
100
that, you're planting another
pounds.
100 acres. If you look at, or 100 pounds per acre. If you look up layering rye for whitetails, I've been talking about this for many years. It's a
Still many.
system that I developed, a practice that I developed many years ago, and it's worked. I developed it because I wanted my food plots to last in that type of an area. If you put a Nebraska plot in that area and it's only thing green, they can dismantle it. Soybeans won't even make it to the end of the summer. Very, very non-brown.
It's a very
corn.
white-tailed deer
Clover,
coming
same way.
on.
You're going to have the clover down to the dirt by October
Still follow
1st.
along
You
with
have that
you.
frost in September, the clover's
Would
not
you
growing,
consider
you have
that
zero
deer?
food. But what I found with rye is you get a warm up in early December and it's 55 degrees, that rye is going to perk right up and even grow a little bit. So what I found was layered rye works really well. And let's face it, anything you can get green.
Well, let's
to
face it.
That's great. And it might be
Well,
way
still
down
a
in
little bit
Kentucky
going on
or
and
northern
change
West
around
Virginia,
here.
some area where
But
it's a
I
little bit
think
warmer
she'll
and
be
your crop's a
doing
little
again.
warmer, then you might be able to get away with
No
clover
matter
and
what
situations
that
like that.
guy
But
that
if you only
is
have 5,
coming
10
from.
acres, I would encourage you to get
What
as
do you
high a
say?
percentage of those
That I'm making
of that
any
acreage
progresses
in the
in
food
here?
plot, in particular slanted towards the side without much hunting pressure. If it backs up to public land, it's ideal. If it backs up to a non-hunting neighbor, ideal. Leave yourself a little bit of cover so you can have room for a couple stand locations where deer come in and out of that particular side. A couple stand locations on the back side of cover as it relates to food. And what you're really trying to do is put that food in a location where you can access and hunt alongside it, or as deer are entering or exiting that food source.
You're
on the
gonna be
safe side of your
entering, but
property,
that
whether it's 2 sides, 3
situation out
sides,
there.
1 side, whatever it may
Still
be.
going.
But the power of food in a wooded parcel cannot be underestimated, and that is what you need to focus on if your property is wooded. Now the next one, if you're in mid-ag area and you have a small parcel like that, and I would count where we're at, the southwest Wisconsin area, portions of southern Michigan, especially towards Grand Rapids or Lansing, maybe even Jackson, where you have a little bit more woods mixed in. Not northern Ohio, where there's not a tree for 1.5 miles in any direction.
Still
But
long, a
more
little
where
bit
it's 50,
miles
50
coming
ag,
by.
40, 60, 60,
But
40,
how do you
30,
guys
70,
know
whatever
about
it might
that?
be. Then what you use your food for on that parcel, you don't want all cover because you're surrounded by ag. You have cover in the area. A lot of times
Wow,
in those
this video's
locations in
shaking a
ag
lot.
areas where you do not
Shaking a
have
lot
ag,
again.
it's because there's a lot of cover, meaning it's rocky, it's hilly, it's wet. And so you have areas of good cover in those locations, a lot of times a lot of diversity. It's not just open hardwoods, or they probably would have been thinned and removed and turned into ag many decades ago. In those locations, I still like to create as much cover as possible, but I like to create a food source within there that actually moves deer. So instead of 5 to 10 acres in a wooded area where you're converting 3 to 7 or 3 to 6, 3 to 5 acres into food, in this location you might have an acre of food or a half acre of food.
This
You
will
wanna
be
have
a card
long
chicken, I
lines
thought.
of food, ribbons of food.
But I
where they
think
trail
I'm
around
still
your
doing
borders.
it
They turn
again,
around, they turn in the corners like a NASCAR track where you're not trying to steer those deer off a 90-degree angle. It's more like Bristol where it just sweeps them around. You want to keep the deer on your property, focused on your property, running parallel to your borders. Those food sources shouldn't be more than 10 to 8 feet wide, or 8 to 10 feet wide, maybe 20 feet wide at the most, because the more width you have, the more it turns into a stop and stand food source where deer aren't traveling. You're trying to set up mock scrapes along this corridor. You look at it more of as a
That's a
feeding
lot of
corridor.
that.
You know, think of it
Some
maybe,
deer.
let's say you have a rectangle 10-acre parcel. It's 330 by 1320. That's a common 10-acre size. On the east side, you have a big chunk of woods that might total 5, 6, 7 acres that you're turning into habitat. And on the west side, you're taking a line of food out that might be 20 feet wide. It might go along your border to the north, down the west side, and then down the south
Hey,
side.
where
and
are
back
you
into
supposed to
that
go
cover.
with
So it's almost
you?
like a sea of a food plot with the amount of cover on the inside. So you're really trying to pull deer out of that cover and sweep them back into the cover, and then that sets up stand locations on the back side of the cover for the morning, on the east side, on the south side, west side, north side.
Still
of the
got
food,
that
as you're moving
side.
around that, cruising
Still
areas
dig
for
it
ducks during season
anyways.
because you're not making that food source too wide, and you end up having
Still a little bit too
to an
wide.
acre of food, and it sets up a lot of
Oh,
stereotypes.
really? Holy
Deer can enter that area.
smokes!
You have 5 or 6 acres.
That's a lot
they're
of
very
deer
thick,
coming
that
by.
move deer within. You're trying to convert those woods or timber or brush. to
I mean,
actually
look
be
at
areas
him!
on the east side. in
How
that
very
situation.
rare!
And then you're moving deer around that so that you can actually get a shot of them. And let's face it, in mixed ag, if you go around, you think about it right now, to have a location that has 8, 9
Well,
acres
I
of
reason
food
I'm
and
telling
cover
you.
that's
And
unpressured by
I'm definitely a
takers, where you're
fraud.
taking
Well,
really selective chances
we'll
of
harder that
moving
time
the
that.
locations around that parcel, taking very precision.
But seems a little bit rare
You're
too.
facing into
Gosh, that's really harder
cover and
than you
food.
think.
You really have very few areas that have 8 or 9 acres.
But how do
in
you
the
know
neighborhood
supposed to know that
typically
guy coming
that are
by?
unpressured and have quality
Still
food
got
and
a
habitat. And
camouflage,
that's what
huh?
sets that 10-acre parcel. You can actually have 10 acres that's a lot more valuable than an 80 to 120 acre parcel in that area. If that 80 to 120 acre parcel is all hardwoods, even if it's surrounded by ag. I just had a question.
Still no before
yesterday at the
this
gas
in the
station.
ad.
I had someone come
Oh,
up to me and said,
really?
you know, asked me if I was
Chill out.
and if I worked on property. And that person said that, you know, we have this big chunk of timber, it's all hardwood.
I don't do
We have corn on top,
necessarily.
we have corn down the bottom in the ag fields. We don't know why we just have does on our property. Well, it's because it's just all open hardwoods. They have too much food on the top and the bottom in October, November. It creates a situation where there's a lack of cover within that.
That
80 to
sounds a little bit
120 acres. It's
organized
easy
in
to
that.
overpressure that because deer can see you from a quarter
I
mile
mean,
through the open
that's
timber,
seriously out
and
of my
that's why you do
control.
not see bucks during the season. So you can have a 10-acre parcel that has thick cover and some food plot lines to connect that cover, putting
Still
that food
connected.
safely on the edge where you don't have your neighbors looking over it. And that's how you can take a 10-acre parcel in a mixed ag area and make it a very high valuable parcel
Pretty
compared to
good
everything
deer,
else
huh?
in the area. Conventional wisdom tells you that bigger is better when it comes to parcels. You know, 80 to 1120 acres would beat out
Man,
that
it's
10,
hard,
but that
it's
is not
hard.
the case when you selectively manage.
I think
a
I
really
shall-
definitive pattern
I
movement
think I
and
shall
building
be
cover on
doing
10
that
acres.
thing
You
so
can beat
better
out the guys with 80 to
hardcore.
120 acres, the hunters that have a much
Make
larger
my
parcel.
day.
And actually pretty easy to do, especially when they apply a little hunting pressure. They don't have quality food and they don't have quality cover. Now third, heavy ag. And that's where northern Ohio comes in, southern Michigan, northern Indiana, from Fort Wayne on up, maybe even Indy on up, and central Illinois on up, southern Wisconsin, even portions of Minnesota that are flat. But big areas where you have open ag and very little cover. And you probably guessed it, in areas like that.
Well, that's
cover
a
is
take
at
a lot of
premium.
good
I've seen that
covers
even
on
in Iowa,
mine.
where you take an 8 to 10
But
acre
what
parcel,
about
you make it
me?
as thick as possible.
I'm
If
really
it's
gonna
open
be hard
field
time,
that you're
y'all.
buying, you can convert it into switchgrass.
Would you
and
consider
pockets
doing
of
that
very
thing
successional
a hard
growth,
job
where
for
you
your
can move deer
work?
from one pocket to the other,
Or
around the edges
did
of the
I?
borders, paralleling the borders. A lot of these parcels, you want that movement to be parallel to your borders, because then you can have multiple stand locations with multiple winds. But pretty easy to take an
That's
overgrown
pretty
field and
easy
convert
about
it to
things,
whitetail
hard
habitat
to
within
doubt
2
that better.
years. You don't need to plant a lot of trees.
I think I shall
shrubs,
try this
conifers,
again
and certainly not
soon.
miscanthus grass. We have another video about that that's coming out tomorrow. That takes years to establish and doesn't even establish well in certain areas. So you're looking at something like switchgrass that'll take over in 2 years. It'll be 7 to 8 feet tall, offer sufficient cover. You want to plant at 8 to 10 pounds per acre. I have lots of planting advice on switchgrass and how to do that. And then you mix it with early successional growth. So you have broadleaves and hardwood regeneration for food during the bedding hours. And if you have a big woodlot of hardwoods, you're knocking that timber down. You're moving at least 50–60% of the canopy. Just because it's an oak doesn't mean it's a good oak. If it's a leaner, if it's
That's
a
a good old
subordinate,
thing.
if it's a multi-forked, low mass,
Still a
no
little
mass
bit
tree,
catchy.
get it out of there. Just because it has an oak name doesn't mean it's good, unfortunately. You need open canopy. And even if it was all big oaks in there, that means there's no cover. So that means your deer stand, your neighbors, they might come into your property at night, and that's not a good situation either. You have to have thick cover in those areas where there's a lot of ag. And it starts by determining
Oh,
if it's
still
overgrown
chopping
field, you're doing
on.
it this way, adding the switchgrass, early
Still
successional
switching
growth
on.
pockets. If it's in a
Did I
hardwood,
recognize
then
this?
you're knocking that timber down. If it's in a mixed
Ooh,
canopy,
that's
conifer
chopped
growth,
down
then you're
a
manipulating the
tree.
habitat, maybe opening up the canopy underneath.
How can I ever
the
be,
conifers,
though,
opening
anyway?
up pockets in gray dogwood. Your hinge cutting, if it's aspen, you're removing pockets.
That's
in
so
your full
hard to
7,000
tell.
shoots per acre regeneration.
1439?
And you're making that parcel
But how
thick
hard could
because
it be?
cover is at a premium. in those low cover regions. And those are 3 ways, 3 areas that you can take 3 different focuses, from heavy woods,
Man,
wilderness
that's
areas,
still focused
where there
on
might not
that.
even be a lot of deer, but food is at a premium, to a mixed area where
hard.
you're taking light food to define travel
really
around
hard.
very thick cover areas that give
Hard,
you
hard
enough to
as
stand
heck.
locations, and then finding those open ag areas that have hardly any. I've been on property in northern Ohio.
But I bet
that had 26
necessarily it's
acres
gonna
to my
be
client.
hard
The
to
neighbor had 20
tell.
acres, and that 46 acres
But how
is
do
the
you know
biggest
right
chunk
now
of
that?
cover within 2 miles in any direction. In those cases, huge premium on cover, and so those are 3 ways to take a 5 to 15 acre parcel, turn it into a gem this year.
That's a lot.
And so don't shy away, whether you're buying one, leasing one,
give me that
getting
thing.
permission to hunt on
I
one.
had to give me that
Those little hidden
situation of
parcels
that.
can be gems. And if you match it with the flow of the terrain, if it's on a river system, creek system, you're matching it with that water, you can turn a micro parcel into a mega buck hunting and success whitetail parcel this season, and it doesn't take that long.
Well, thank you for watching.
Oh, it's over. Well, guys, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Well, that's it, folks. Bye-bye.